Welcome into the 5th episode of Season 3 of the Educational Duct Tape Podcast. This is the 69th episode of the show and the 14th mini-episode. I'm excited for you to hear my chat with my friend Jenna Drozd about the video production, photography, and graphic design electives that she teaches to 8th graders. Let's get this started.
I'm AJ Bianco from Podcast PD, a part of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you're listening to now. Shows in the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Welcome to the Educational Duct Tape Podcast with Jake Miller.
Welcome! Hello, duct tapers, and hello to those of you who are new to the show and don't realize that you are now officially a duct taper. Being a duct taper means that you can get on board with the educational duct tape EdTech integration mindset. And that mindset says that educational technology is most useful when it's not the goal of the lesson or activity, but is a tool being used to solve a problem or meet a goal. Anyhow, you're now a duct taper simply because you're here with these sounds coming into your ear canal. Speaking of the sounds that are coming into your ear canal, normally there's a delay between when those sounds were originally uttered by me and my guest and when they make it to your ear canal. But this episode features one of the longest delays, probably the longest delay in educational duct tape history. Last school year, I recorded interviews at EdTech conferences and events and then featured them as mini episodes of the show. I've since retired this format, but I still have a few awesome interviews in the backlog to share with you, and today's is no exception. Way back in February, I interviewed my coworker and friend Jenna Drozd at the OETC conference in Columbus. I had expected to roll that episode out in early April, but then, the virus who shall not be named wreaked havoc on our society, and yeah, here we are nearly 8 months later, and I still haven't aired this episode or this interview yet, so now is the time. But that's okay. My discussion with Jenna has aged like a fine wine. Jenna shared so much awesomeness about the 8th grade tech electives that she teaches, and I'm eager for you to hear it. Before we get to it, a quick format note. I'll get back to my normal episode format in about 2 weeks, a fortnight if you will, with a full-length episode with my friend Mike Abrams. For now, though, here's my chat with Jenna.
Today's guest.
Okay, so I'm here at OETC, the Ohio Educational Technology Conference, again, here in Columbus, Ohio, and I'm here with my buddy, Jenna Dross. So, Jenna, I'm going to let you explain who you are and introduce yourself and things like that.
Awesome. Thanks, buddy. I'm Jenna Dross. I am Jake's friend from Orange. I've been in Orange for, 7 years now. I started out in the language arts classroom. Shout out to all my language arts people. And I've been a technology coach for the last few years. Yeah, I love it.
I know that you're doing a session here pretty soon, actually, which I'm planning on attending, about tech electives at your school, right? So I'm going to ask you a question that relates to the first one, but what is the tech elective that you're teaching right now? I should dial that back a second. So Jenna, as a tech coach, most of her day is dedicated to supporting teachers and integrating technology, maybe like coaching in the classroom, co-teaching, stuff like that. But then you have one period a day, right, where you teach a tech course to 8th grade students. So what's the course you're teaching right now?
So right now, second semester, I'm teaching a video production class. And so it's kind of two parts where we're starting to build a studio space, which is really cool. It's brand new this year. We're literally putting it together and the equipment and whatnot. So we're going to use that to do some announcement type things. And then I'm also teaching them just the elements of video in general. So we're starting out creating some PSAs, some commercials and things like that, just to understand what goes into making a video.
What tool are you using there?
We're going to use WeVideo for the kids production portion. Yeah.
And then, okay, so my bigger question is about what you're doing last semester in your tech course then. So using the educational duct tape mindset. So for the listeners who might not be familiar with it, it's the idea of looking at the educational technology as a tool that we're solving problems with. So in when you're teaching a course like a tech elective, the tech kind of is the goal itself, and that's okay for that to happen in some situations. But when you design these courses, I know that you weren't thinking about the tech tools first. You were thinking about goals for what you want to expose the kids to. So after doing some surveying, I know you decided that photography and graphic design was something that kids were really interested in and had a lot of potential for them in their future. So my question for you is, how can we expose kids to good graphic design practice, good photography and photo editing and things like that? So what things did you do in your course that you would recommend people doing to support graphic design and photos?
Here's what's super cool about that question is when we spent a lot of time talking about it because, caveat being, we know that tech should be embedded in the classrooms, and you and I both believe that it really should be embedded. It's not content specific, but there are certain tech skills that have to be taught in isolation, photography really being one of them. And so also funny that, the students came in thinking they're selfie experts. Right. And so it was cool to teach them something that they quote unquote know about, but teach them to look at it in a new way. 90% of our students had a cell phone, so we had them use their cell phones, and for those that didn't, we had them use an iPad, so they were all using similar tools. So first of all, we taught them to look at photography in a different way. Like, don't just snap that selfie. What is the focus of your photo? Make sure that your photo has some balance. Like, what do you want people's eye to look at? Are they supposed to be looking at your face? Are they supposed to be looking at the dog sitting on your lap? Let's think about what we want people to look at in our photo. If it's a planned photo, what colors are you wearing? Balance and give your photo some, pleasing to the eye, not just like a peace sign and a little tongue out or whatever. So it was really cool to be able to teach them that and use their own phones, take them into the settings on their own iPhone. And oh, wait, you can change the color balance. You can change the focus. You can put on a different blur or use the portrait mode and things like that. So that was really cool because, almost all kids have cell phones now. So that's a tool that we taught them that they can go out and use anywhere on vacation or moving forward.
How did the kids feel about, was there pushback? Like, I could just use filters that are built into the apps to make it look good. Like, how did they feel about learning those other things? And so if there was pushback at first, then did they come around later to the idea of maybe it's worth doing more than just clicking on the different filters that are in there?
Yeah, for sure. I think they definitely, it was very interesting. We had to get them to stop taking photos in Snapchat or in Instagram or whatever, because they don't even use the camera on their phone. They go into whatever app they're going to use at the time and choose a filter with the dog face or a heart or color or whatever. So we had them using just the camera, which was the total switch for them, which was new to me. I didn't even think I'm going to have to tell you to use the camera. I mean, you and I, we use, most adults, I would think, we use the camera. Exactly. So I think that was a switch for them too. But I think for them, it was the bigger picture of, taking that, 10 seconds, what am I trying to capture here and how do I want to capture it? So getting them to think about it in a different way. And it was the best feeling when they would come to me, I visited this park over the weekend and look at this tree that I captured. And right. I could see their excitement for it. And that was the coolest experience for me. So,
so then the editing process, so then what did that look like?
So the editing process, we kind of took them through different tools at a time. We want this week we're focusing on leading lines, so this photo needs to show this, or next week we're focusing on balance. And so we kind of tried to take it one step at a time with them, so they were only doing one thing at a time. And so what they would do is we use Google Classroom. So they would really edit their photo in their photo app, however we asked, and then they would bring it into Google Classroom. As we started having more and more things for them to share, we had them create a portfolio in Adobe Spark. And we kind of taught them how to use Spark almost like a mini portfolio, mini web page. Okay. And so they would have a page that was their table of contents, for lack of a better word, with all their projects in it. And then it was linked to the rest of their individual projects, if that makes sense. So highly, highly recommend doing that. It was definitely a learning curve for them because they want to just plunk their photos in wherever and be done with it. But they were so excited to share when they were done. Look at my portfolio of everything I've done. And it was really cool once they were done.
The nice thing about Spark in that situation is they probably were able to personalize the look of their page to showcase the tone of their photographs. If they're posting a lot of nature photographs versus a lot of photographs of them and their friends, or happy photographs versus sad photographs, or whatever it might be, they're picking colors and setups that fit that. Cool. And so those are both using the phone app, that's not free, but most of the kids have that. So the school's not paying any money for them doing that. And same with Adobe Spark. The kids are able to access that for free. Did you go into any like more in-depth photo editing? We can do so much just in our phone, but did you go in any, like, if the kid wants to become a photographer, they're going to need to go further than that. So what did you use for that?
We were incredibly lucky knowing that we were going into this course to be able to get access to Photoshop for them. And it is an amazing program. I was new to Photoshop, and so I'm very lucky that, shout out to Heather Lansgroner, my like, goodness gracious, she is my graphic design goddess. I love her. And she taught me so much and taught the kids so much. And it's obviously a paid program, and we're very grateful that we got to expose the kids to it. It's an amazing program. If anybody is thinking about it and wants to try it out, I highly recommend trying it out to see if it's right for your school or your class, because while it was difficult for the kids, they really loved it and wanted to do more with it. And we definitely, the cool thing about teaching 8th graders was that we were able to pick certain kids and really help them kind of decide maybe what to take in high school and take it, to a different level for them. Whereas some of them were like, okay, this is cool, but this is way beyond. So it's definitely one of those programs. I think you either love it or you struggle with it. But I would say 99% of the kids, once we got them into it and taught them the tools and they could see what they could do with it, they loved it. For example, we did a Frankenstein monster project where they got to take different parts of an animal, of a person, and create their own person. And that was kind of one of the last projects we did. That was in Photoshop. And so we had Saquon Barkley's head with Beyonce's arms and parakeet feet. And it was so open-ended. I mean, their only job was create your own monster. And to see what they were able to do with that from the beginning of starting Photoshop, where they, what am I doing? What's a selection tool? To being able to come to that was a huge accomplishment, and they were awesome. They were awesome.
What did you feel like the learning curve was like with Adobe Photoshop? If so you're working with 8th graders, so you put 8th graders in front of the tool on a Monday, like, when are they going to be not fluent, because it's going to take months probably to be really fluent, but when are they going to be ready to move beyond just kind of doing basic tutorials and actually kind of using the tool to edit something? Like, how long does that take? How stressful or difficult is it for the kid?
I would say the first month was pretty stressful, but we also, this is a 2-day-a-week class, so we're seeing them, maybe with different schedules and field trips and whatever. We might see a kid 4 or 5 times in a month span, depending on the month. But I would say if you had a class a month and a half, because there's really if once they get a few tools, they really can do a lot with those. The selection tool, different pick tools and color tools, and learning how to bring in a photo. Once they do those things, they can kind of take it and run with it, because the thing is, they are savvy, but they're savvy in a different way. Kids come into the lab where I teach, and we use just laptop computers, and I get so many kids that have never used a mouse. Right. And it's mind-blowing to me. Like, I should know that. I should know that kids don't know how to use a mouse, but to see it is crazy. So you have to remember, those are the kind of kids that you're working with. They're very savvy, but in a different way. Right. So, yeah, I would say maybe a month and a half, and then they could really go. And some will take 3 days and be obsessed with it. And, we had kids coming in study hall that couldn't get enough. And the cool part with Photoshop is they can use it at home because it's cloud-based. So we did have kids tell us that they were, I went home last night and, created my own logo or something like that. So, yeah.
So you were saying a month and a half, but that's a 2-day-a-week course. So we're looking at maybe like a 10-day kind of thing. So maybe if it was an everyday 50-minute class, maybe it would take in like 2 weeks for them to get pretty fluent in doing it. And then, like you said, like, some of the kids might then find out, I don't want to do this, and that's actually kind of great, because that's one thing that as they move on to high school or to college, they know where their interests are and what things they might want to do and what things they might not want to do. That's the beauty of an elective course like that at that age. Cool. Well, thank you so much for this chat, Jenna. We got to finish with our on-air selfie. Are you ready? Yeah. I'm going to take 10 seconds. I'm going to plan out my photo. I'm going to decide what my focal point is. I'm going to plan it all out. Not really. I'm just going to hold the phone out and snap a picture. Nice. Well, thank you for being here and doing this today, Jenna.
Thank you for having me.
Good chatting with you.
Thank you for listening to the Educational Duct Tape Podcast. Please consider rating and reviewing the show on your favorite podcast app. #EduDuctTape.